I never imagined that a simple scroll through Instagram would hit me like a punch to the gut. My name is Daniel. I'm 34, work as a project manager, and I've been married to Emily for 7 years. On most days, our life is comfortable. Nothing flashy, just the quiet rhythm of work, kids, and routines. But I always thought there was trust in our relationship, a line that would never be crossed. Last Saturday morning, I woke up early, poured myself a cup of coffee, and lazily opened my phone. Emily was still asleep in the bedroom. I had no reason to suspect anything was off, but as soon as her Instagram popped up, my heart sank. There she was, smiling broadly in a cafe, holding a latte, sitting across from her ex-boyfriend, Jason. It wasn't just a picture. It was a whole story she'd curated. Cozy sweaters, soft lighting, playful smiles. Every detail screamed intimacy, the kind of intimacy I thought was reserved for me. I stared at the captions. Casual, joking, even a little teasing. And then I read her comment under the photo. If you're jealous, that's your problem. I couldn't believe it. My hands shook slightly as I set my phone down. I kept telling myself, maybe it's innocent. Maybe they just ran into each other and decided to catch up. But the way she framed it, so carefree, so unapologetic, it wasn't innocent. It was a deliberate provocation, and she knew exactly how it would feel. I thought about the past few months. How she had become distant, how our conversations had turned curt, how she seemed more interested in her phone than our life together. I had brushed it off, blaming stress or long work hours, convincing myself I was overreacting. But this was something else entirely. It was a signal, loud and clear, that she had no regard for my feelings, my boundaries, or the trust we had painstakingly built. I remember sitting down heavily at the kitchen table, coffee cooling in my hands, staring blankly at the floor. My mind replayed every argument, every small insult, every subtle dismissal that I had ignored. They all suddenly felt like pieces of a puzzle I hadn't wanted to see. Emily wasn't just disconnected. She was intentionally sending me a message I couldn't ignore. It was the first time in years I felt this level of anger mixed with disbelief. Not the fleeting frustration you get from a minor quarrel, but the deep, gnawing kind that burrows into your chest and refuses to leave. I knew I had to confront it, but I also knew that whatever came next would change everything between us. I waited until later that evening, when the kids were asleep, to talk to her. Emily was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone, the same carefree smile still lingering on her lips. I took a deep breath, trying to steady the storm raging inside me. Emily, I saw the photos with Jason, I said quietly, my voice surprisingly calm despite the tension in the air. She didn't even look up at me. Oh, that, she replied, brushing it off as if it were nothing more than yesterday's weather. If you're jealous, that's your problem, Daniel. Her tone was light, teasing, almost mocking. It was infuriating. I felt the anger rising like a tide, pushing me toward words I didn't want to say, words that might burn bridges beyond repair. I'm not talking about jealousy, I said, my hands gripping the edge of the table. This isn't about me being insecure. This is about respect. About boundaries. About us. And right now, it feels like you don't care at all. She finally looked at me, and that smile was still there, but it had an edge now. Respect? Boundaries? Daniel, you're overreacting. We're adults. I can see whoever I want. I don't owe you an explanation. Her words hit me harder than I expected. For a moment, I felt frozen, as if the floor beneath me had disappeared. Every ounce of love, every memory, every plan we had made together suddenly seemed fragile, like glass ready to shatter at the slightest touch. And in that silence, I realized something terrifying. The woman I had trusted with my life, the woman I had built a home and family with, had shifted. She had changed the rules without telling me. I spent the rest of the night pacing the living room, mind racing with scenarios. Could this be harmless? Or had she crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed? Was this a warning, a test, or the start of something far worse? I knew I had to get answers, but more than that, I had to protect myself emotionally. I couldn't let myself become numb or trapped in denial anymore. By the time the sun rose, I had made a decision. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to collapse under the weight of her apathy. I needed clarity. I needed confrontation. And most importantly, I needed the truth, no matter how brutal it might be. That afternoon, I confronted Emily again. This time, I had a quiet determination, the kind that comes when someone decides they will no longer be passive in the face of betrayal. She was in the kitchen, sipping tea as if nothing had happened. I looked her in the eye and said, "Emily, we need to talk, really talk. Not excuses, not jokes. I need the truth." Her expression flickered for a moment, surprise, maybe even a hint of guilt, but she quickly masked it. "What truth are you looking for, Daniel? The photos? I already told you it's nothing. You're making it bigger than it is." I took a deep breath. "It's never nothing. I see the pattern now. How distant you've become, how little regard you show for our marriage. And this," I gestured toward her phone, "isn't just a coincidence. You're showing him the side of you that I used to have, and I need to know why." Her face softened, but her words remained sharp. "Daniel, you don't understand. It's the past, that's all. He's just a friend now. I'm not in love with him, and I'm not leaving you. You're imagining things." But I wasn't imagining. I could feel the tension, the unspoken desires, the carelessness that had slipped into our marriage. I realized that the woman I married, the one I thought I knew, had a complexity I hadn't accounted for. A side that thrived on attention, freedom, and a disregard for my insecurities. For the next hour, we talked, or rather, I listened. She spoke about her feelings, her frustrations, her boredom, her curiosity. I listened without interrupting, letting her words fill the room with the weight of truth. And in that moment, I saw the crossroads of our marriage. We could either rebuild with honesty, or we could acknowledge the distance and let it define us. I didn't shout. I didn't plead. I simply said, "Emily, I need a marriage where we respect each other's feelings. If that's too much, then we need to figure out what comes next. But I won't be ignored or made to feel small." She paused, looking at me with a mixture of surprise and contemplation. For the first time in weeks, the tension in the room shifted. There was no smirk, no teasing remark. Just two people staring at the reality of their choices. It wasn't an easy resolution. There were no immediate answers, no guarantees. But for the first time, I felt like I had reclaimed my voice, my boundaries, and my power. The cozy photos might have been her attempt at provocation, but they also forced a conversation we could no longer avoid. And in that confrontation, I found clarity, respect, and the beginning of a choice, one that would shape the next chapter of our lives.